Hi, hello, I'm Jaye and this is Selios Cosplay. Today we are back with yet another lookbook for our Hazbin Hotel lookbook series. And today we are going to be continuing with Husker. You're probably a lot more used to seeing Leah cosplaying him as opposed to me, but I am going to take you through today how we, because me and Leah do the makeup basically the same, on how we choose to approach Husker as a makeup and as a cosplay. If you're new here, we are doing a lookbook series where we take you through all of the major characters of Hazbin Hotel and tell you how we would approach cosplaying them and how to make it the most accessible and easy for beginners to approach the characters. If you're not already and you would like to be, maybe please consider subscribing. We have lots of different types of content here, from our lookbooks and tutorial series to com blogs. And weekly live streams as well, where we get to hang out with you guys. So yeah, without further ado, let's just get into the video. Today we're getting started with our lenses. We are using the Dragon Maid Gold Yellow contact lenses from Moko Queen. I love these. I was really struggling to find a cat eye lens that would work in my prescription, and I was super excited when I found these on Moko Queen, because I knew that they would be perfect for Husk and Crowley and things like that. But I could also see super clearly through these lenses, which I was also really excited about because quite a lot of cat eye lenses now are mesh, so they're quite hard to see through. So finding some that weren't was a nice and pleasant surprise. And I'm just popping those in here. My prescription is a -7. We've had a couple of questions recently about how you find the prescription for lenses. Please go to your opticians. Do not buy contact lenses without consulting an optician first. Then to move on to our skin. As always, I am prepping my skin with the e.l.f. Putty Primer. It is my favourite primer to use. It sticks wonderfully. It lasts all day at a con. I love it. I can't recommend it enough. Once we have all of that rubbed in here, I am going in with my good old faithful white Meron Paradise paint for our base. Probably all sick of hearing me say this by now, but it is just my favourite white body paint to use. You can use whatever you're most comfortable with, whether that's cream paint, whether it's a different brand. There's plenty more information on our channel for that if you would like to learn a little bit more, but I am just going in here with my white body paint and a sponge just to apply a nice even base for us to work off. Once I am happy with my base, I am going in with some bright red eyeshadow to fill in our brows. Now, you can go for a more dramatic brow for Husk if you would like to, and like actually cut them out of like foam or felt or whatever you have on hand. But I'm just drawing mine on today. So I just use a bright red eyeshadow on my like usual eyebrow brush just to create this sort of like long pointed dramatic brow. Now, if you have quite thick or quite dark eyebrows, unlike me, who I actually shave half of mine off, I would highly recommend gluing your brows down. It's super easy to do. All you need is a Pritt stick and some powder. All you do is you just make sure that you lather your brows up with some glue just to make sure that like every hair is coated, and then you use the glue stick to press those hairs down against your forehead. And once you are like pretty happy with how flat they are, you just go in and powder the ever-living hell out of them. And what that can do is give you a much nicer base to work off for your brows, just in case you don't have the option like I do to just draw straight over the top of them. If you also have quite light brows, whether your brows are blonde or whatever, you don't need to do this step. Your body paint should cover them well enough. Just if you have quite dark brows, because these are quite bright and dramatic in comparison to the black ones that we normally do, that's normally the best way to get a much more even base to work off. Once I'm happy with the shape of my red brows, I'm just using a tiny little bit of black eyeshadow just to add the two little lines that he has at the end. Again, if you're using foam or like cardboard or anything like that, you'll just be drawing these on like with a marker, and I'm just using a little bit of eyeshadow here just to mimic that look on my actual brows. To finish off my like brow area here, I'm going in with my normal liquid eyeliner. You can use body paint for this if that's what you're more comfortable with. I'm just using my eyeliner pen just because I have more control over it. And I'm just adding the 2 little hearts that Husk has above his eyebrows. Just take your time with these. I've mentioned before that if you're drawing dramatic shapes, you can just use like a light eyeshadow just to map out where you want that shape to be first before you go in with the pen. Just going in and drawing these 2 tiny little black hearts above his brows. Once I am happy with that, I'm going in with contour. It's quite dark and dramatic in comparison to some of the contour that we've done previously, but that's purely just because we will be going in later with a black body paint to sort of like block out the rest of the face, so the edges of our face doesn't super matter. And I'm actually going with quite a dark eyeshadow here just to make sure that my face and the shadows of my face are where I want them to be. Husk is quite easy in that he's quite forgiving, in that we will be covering quite a lot of our jawline and stuff with fake hair, so it doesn't matter so much if it seems really quite dark and dramatic, because we will be covering most of it for the most part. All I'm sort of doing is giving myself a guideline of where I will want those hairs to be later, and just sort of putting that shape into my face now so that I don't go too harsh on it later. You also might have noticed that I popped a little bit of contour underneath my nose and into my cupid's bow. I do this on my Husk just to sort of give him that little bit more of a cat-like expression. Just going in and just making sure that those shapes are mimicking a cat rather than looking a little bit more human. Once I'm happy with the positioning of all of my contour, I am using a small angled brush and some black eyeshadow, and all I'm doing is just sort of very, very lightly, please take your time with this step, mimicking the shape of hair. At the moment we're doing it for our sort of widow's peak that Husk has. All this is going to do is help to blend our wig in a little bit more, as our wig is not a lace front. But all you're doing is just lightly dragging your brush down just to sort of mimic the direction of hair. And this can be like a mix of like darker streaks and lighter streaks. It's just going to make that look a little bit more realistic. Take your time with this step. If you do think you've gone a little bit too hard, don't worry. You can lightly tap with your finger and that should lighten it up enough to go back over it. Or if you really don't like the positioning of it, you can just use body paint back over the top of that as well. And all I'm doing is then moving it onto my chin to sort of mimic the sort of little beard he has going on, his little goatee. And then once we've done his goatee and we're happy with the shape and the look of it, I will move onto my jawline and then more onto his like mutton chops and sideburns. I'm sort of trying to mimic the shapes that he has in the show on the sides of his face, and that they sort of flick up and flick down. And I'm just trying to match that just to sort of pay that homage to his actual artwork, whilst also trying to make it look that little bit more realistic in the way that hair would grow on your actual face. If you want to go super dramatic and you want it to look really cartoony, you can just do this step like with a black body paint and just draw those shapes straight onto your face instead, rather than trying to make it look like hair. But that is entirely up to user preference. I just quite like the hair look here. You do whatever you feel the most comfortable with. We're just going to follow those shapes on both sides of our faces until we're happy with how it looks. For our eyes, we're going in with quite dark grey and black eyeshadow just to darken the entire lid and just sweeping underneath our eyes. What this is going to do is mimic the sclera colour of his eyes in the show. Because we don't have contacts that match how his eyes actually are, I'm using makeup to darken my eyes around my like contacts and stuff like that, to make the lenses pop that little bit more and give the illusion that my eyes are darker than they actually are. So I'm keeping it quite a tight like almond shape here. I'm not really blending it too far out. I don't want it to be super dramatic smoky eye or anything like that. I'm purely using this to mimic his like eye shape in the show. And then what I'm doing is going in the corner of my eye just to sort of contour my nose that little bit more, and I'm also sweeping it down to create sort of like a tired line, a sleep line. I don't know what this is actually called. I'm highlighting my bags, I think, and just making myself look that little bit more tired and a little bit older. And this is going to sort of really sell Husk's grumpy vibe. Once I'm happy with the shape on my eye, I'm going to just mimic that over onto the other one. Another small tip I have, if you're cosplaying a character who's maybe a little bit more tired, maybe a little bit older, a little bit more rugged, One of my favorite tips to do is to pop a little bit of like natural pink eyeshadow just in the corner of your eye. I do this for a lot of my male cosplays just because I'm not really doing eyeliner or anything like that to keep them looking more masculine. And what I find it does is just give a little bit more realism to the character, especially if you're doing a body paint. So I'm adding it here to Husk just to sort of really sort of sell that like tiredness, to put a little bit more life and colour back into his eyes, etc, etc. It's such a tiny little detail, but it's one that I really enjoy adding to my cosplays. I started going in here to add the little heart onto his nose, and I very quickly realised that I wasn't a huge fan of the placement of it. I'd sort of done it a little bit too far down, and I just didn't like it. So it's a really easy fix. It might not seem it because it's black eyeliner, but all I'm going to do is take my body paint that's still on my sponge and just sort of lightly tap over my nose, and I will do this in a few layers. You'll see me sort of going back and forth to it whilst I'm doing other things, just to make sure that that's actually covered. So yeah, ignore it for now. We don't like it, we'll come back and fix it. Whilst I'm waiting for my layers of body paint to dry, I'm going in with my eyeliner. I'm just creating a very basic cat wing, no pun intended, just to continue amplifying that like eye shape that we've just created with that eyeshadow. It won't be super visible, so don't stress about it being absolutely perfect. We're just sort of using it to darken our lash line. Whilst we're waiting for our body paint to dry as well, I'm going to go in and just lightly line my top lip with a black lipstick. I'm only doing my top lip again for Husk. You'll remember if you watched the Angel one that I also only do the top lip for Angel. But rather than making a super dramatic lip shape, I'm actually rounding out my top lip quite a lot just to again mimic that of the cat's, and then give myself that little bit of an overdrawn outer corner just to give that like upturned cat smile that you tend to see. And that's all we're doing on our lips today. We're trying again with that body paint to really try and get rid of that heart. Don't stress if you mess up, guys, it's so easily fixable. And then go in with some mascara just whilst we're waiting for the body paint to dry, just to sort of finish off everything else. Something you might have noticed during this video, guys, as well, something to keep in mind, shaped lenses like our cat eye ones today will twist and turn during the day. That is just the nature of the lenses because they're not weighted. If you're taking photos and things like that, it might be worth just asking a friend just to double check for you that they are the right way up. You might find yourself adjusting them quite a lot through the day, otherwise you'll look a little bit like a goat. It's just the sad reality of wearing cat eye lenses. Next, we're just going to go in with some black body paint. Like I mentioned before, we're sort of using this just to really sort of shape the face. I'm also using it to disguise my ears because obviously we are using cat ears for Husk, but my wig doesn't actually cover my actual human ears. So by using the black body paint, it's going to disguise the ears underneath the wig and make it not so obvious that they're there. Just a helpful little tip. If you can't get rid of them, just hide them. And then we're just going in down the neck here just to mimic his fur line and how that looks in the show. And we're just sort of also using that to blend those drawn hairs into our face so that they don't look super dramatic against white body paint. And I'm just dragging that down the neck up to sort of around about where my shirt sits. We don't want to go too far down because you don't want to get body paint all over your clothes because it's a pain. Finally, we're going back in and fixing that little nose heart. I wanted it further up on my nose just because I did it a bit too far down before and it just didn't look right, so we're putting it a little bit further up and I'm so much happier. And I'm just using my eyeliner again for this, same as we did with our other hearts. Finally, I'm going in with my bobby pin and a little bit of eyeshadow to do my favourite freckle method. I'm doing this on my lips first. This might seem a little bit weird, but we are once again mimicking the sort of spots that cats have on their lips where their whiskers come out. It's a little detail that I like to add. You don't have to if you don't want to. And then I'm just adding freckles. Again, this is entirely a step that you can miss, but I just quite like the texture that it adds to body paint. It's just that little bit of a personal preference, you know? And that's it. That's Husk. You guys are used to Leah cosplaying Husk more than me. This is the same costume, it's the same everything that we now both wear for Husk. All you'll need is a short black wig. I tend to fluff it out at the sides a little bit more just to make it look that little bit more like fur, but anything will work. Our ears came from a previous cosplay of Leah's, but you can find so many pairs of black cat ears online. If you're not too stressed about having ears that look exactly like Husk's do in the show, you can get so many pairs of black cat ears like everywhere. It is just a white shirt that we had in our wardrobe, a pair of black suspenders that we also have had just lying around for quite a while, a red bow tie. This one is actually a bow tie, but you can get plenty of hair bows that also work. We just got ours off Amazon, so it's super easy to get a hold of. The black hat also came from Amazon. We just added a strip of red fabric around it to mimic his a little bit more. Alternatively, you could make one that looks a little bit more like Husk's out of something like cardboard. They're really, really easy to make. And then his like hands are just a pair of long black fingerless gloves that we have hand stitched hearts onto. Yes, we're aware it's the wrong colour. It was only after the fact and after it was finished that we realised that his hearts are meant to be yellow on his hands and not red, but we haven't got around to changing it. But all we did was hand stitch some like heart-shaped fabric to these gloves, so it's super easy to do. And that's it, and that's Husk. There's obviously plenty of ways that you can like put your own together if you would like to. Do your own interpretation if you want to wear blazers, if you want to wear waistcoats and stuff like that. It's all in good fun and up for interpretation. Thank you very much, guys. We really appreciate it. Thank you for following along with these lookbooks so far. For those of you who have not heard the announcement, these will be going on a little bit of a temporary hiatus, just for a few weeks whilst we put out some other content, and then we will be back with our next block of Hazbin Hotel lookbooks. So stay tuned, keep an eye. And they'll be coming soon. So thank you very much, guys. We really appreciate it. If you're not already, please consider subscribing. We have tons of fun here. We do everything from tutorials and lookbooks to streams to everything in between. Anything cosplay related that you could want. So thank you very much. We really appreciate it, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye, guys.